Where's he going to end up at Cheltenham?
I think he'll end up in the Oracle.
Welcome back to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel in association with Racing TV. We do hope you enjoy this long-awaited Q&A ahead of the 2023 to 2024 National Hunt season. You put your questions in on the video last week. You also put some on Twitter, and we're going to try our best to answer as many as we possibly can. We've been beavering away, finding out hopefully some answers for you, and it's been good fun.
Yeah, been really good fun to try and get a bit of information for the people of certain horses with certain targets, where they're going to go, how they've been doing. Of course, I'm in fantastic form. Villa have just won 5-0 in the Conference League playoff. I could get used to this European lark, Josh.
Who's the reason it's Conference League this season?
Well, it is Chris McCann, but unfortunately Rovers had a small bit of a blip in our Conference League qualification this year, so they're just looking for 4 in a row, and Villa are flying the flag this year.
Villa flying the flag. Can't say the same about Manchester United. We're not going to talk about football for too long. But if you do enjoy this video, please hit that like button. Get your comments for next week down, and any further questions that you want us to answer, we'll try our absolute best to do it on next week's episode. So if anything you felt like was missed, do get them down in the comments. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we look forward to hopefully you sticking around for this season. It's been good so far with our 4 horses to follow videos, and hopefully you can continue to enjoy the content. But let's get stuck into things. The first question comes from @Jasper45776. Any Cheltenham...
First of all, how's he got those numbers?
Well, I do think this is kind of a common theme throughout all of these. I think YouTube gives you
they give you a strange number.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
he hasn't just picked them out of the sky.
I'll let him be. It's not like a birthday or anything like that. Any Cheltenham Festival 2024 handicap horses that you either know or think will be targeted at it. So this is horses not necessarily that we fancy, horses that are we're going to put up for the Cheltenham handicap, because that's an absolute million that are even running the race. But horses you might think could go that direction.
I've landed on one that I actually really quite like.
Oh, no.
No, just in terms of the way I feel he's going to be campaigned, because I think he's going to be a decent ground horse.
Okay.
Willie Mullins trained, and he's not going to be at the top of the novice hurdle pecking order. So I just wonder whether he might go County Hurdle or Martin Pipe, and it's Dr. Eggman. He's ran it quite well in a couple of punches down bumpers. He won a Ballon Road bumper, kind of fell in the end. In the Rich Richie Silks, I just feel he's the type of horse that may run in graded novices throughout the winter, not quite be at that level, could be a nice handicap horse for those spring targets.
And they might run in those graded novices with those spring festivals in mind.
I would say there's every chance of that. I think if they can keep him sound, he'd be the type of horse that would well be on my mind for a Martin Pipe type race.
Okay, well, whilst I've been doing some digging, I found out that Sir Michael Stout's Wodhooh, Wodhooh, no idea, I've definitely, how would you pronounce that?
Yeah, no, Wodhooh.
Yeah, Wodhooh. Has since gone to Gordon Elliott, juvenile hurdler, and I would say there's only one juvenile at the handicap. At the handicap festival, at the Cheltenham Festival. One juvenile handicap at the Cheltenham Festival. So one in mind. I think they are thinking that he might make up into a horse that could be fit for a race like that.
Will I come to you for his exploits on the flat, or are you not going to?
No, I'm not going to be telling you his exploits on that.
Neither am I.
No, the next question is from Matty McSorland at 2466.
I think at this stage we can stop saying the numbers, to be fair, because they are clearly just given to people.
He says, "Hi guys, wondering if Ahoy Senor was your horse, how would you guys campaign him? He's been running so well last year, especially in the Gold Cup, until he came down. Interested to hear your thoughts." Now this is interesting because it might come at a surprise, but connections are and were toying with the idea of reverting back to hurdles. That came at a shock when we found that out. It's not confirmed. They're just toying with the idea at this moment in time. But they might look at the Stayers Hurdle division and say that's quite weak. They've obviously got Korak Rambler, who they're hoping can develop into a Gold Cup horse after winning the Ultima for 2 years in a row and winning the Grand National very impressively. Obviously, I think the one thing you've got to think about there is how much of an effect will that have on Colrat Rambler. He's obviously still quite a relatively young national winner, and hopefully, like he won it so easily, hopefully it doesn't leave a lasting effect. He can kick on and be competitive in the Gold Cup and Grade 1 3-mile chases. But do you almost need to see that before you revert back to hurdles with Ahoy Senor?
I would personally myself, like looking at the figures, Ahoy Senor is a £10 better horse. I completely understand we probably haven't even seen the best of Colrat Rambler, and perhaps in graded company, in Grade 1 company this year, we may be able to see that, and that may prompt them to have a decision to make. And it wouldn't surprise me, certainly if Ahoy Senor, he's been very fizzy on his first run in years gone by, so instead of maybe running over fences, they may toy with a West Yorkshire hurdle or something to get even the fizz out of him, even if that's not what they're going to go down the line of. If he was mine, going back to Matty's question, there's nowhere else I'd campaign him other than the Gold Cup. He was running a very good race when coming down at a late stage. He was a very honourable second in the bowl when perhaps Brian Hughes maybe went a little bit too soon.
Won a Cotswold Chase.
Won a Cotswold's Chase. You know, what more do you want from the horse? Like, he's done an awful lot. He's rated 169 over fences. You know, he's not a bad horse in any respect. I certainly wouldn't be reverting him myself, because if I was owning him, you know, as much as the Stayers Hurdle isn't a great division, there's nothing better than the Gold Cup.
I would imagine the one big advocate of Ahoy Senor reverting back to hurdles is Derek Fox. He probably is desperate to ride both Colrat Rambler and Ahoy Senor next season.
And me and Brian Hughes are both campaigning him for the Gold Cup.
Yeah, I can imagine that is the case. Danny Vanet asks, Barry the Butcher was a big hype horse last year due to his price tag, but he was never seen. What's the update on him? Well, I did find out this week that he's on his holidays with the woman, her name escapes me, who deals with all of Sean and Bernadine Moran's horses, out on holidays with her, and then we'll go back to Henry de Bromhead. Not sure what the plan will be. I would imagine, given his age, he'll probably go over hurdles. Might have one run at a bumper, but I'd imagine we'll see Barry the Butcher over hurdles this season. We'll try and find out more for you. Matthew Feeney asks, question is, which Gordon Elliott horse from the point-to-point sales should we be most excited about? And I'm just going to quickly go, because my answer is very obvious. I
agree completely.
And I asked a question, and it's Qualameter. £500,000 purchase. They think that she has everything. They're very, very excited about her at Calantra, and I would imagine wherever she goes on her debut, the whole National Hunt racing world will have their eyes on her, given her price tag and given how strong she will be in the market, and she could be a superstar. Yeah,
it just seems to be the vibe. I'd completely agree. Obviously, she's got a huge price tag to overcome. She's near on, unless she's going to win a Gold Cup, she's never going to be able to pay that sort of a price tag back. But you'd have to be very excited about her. Gordon's, you know, been in the last couple of seasons, he's been table topping an awful lot of these sales, so you'd like to hope, you know, especially given certainly the amount of money that the Morans have put into the game in the last year or two, that they may have a few nicer horses to go to war with Grade 1 horses this year. Obviously, in the Horse to Follow videos, I put up Firefox, who was a massive store purchase. So those types of horses.
He's grown, apparently.
Yeah,
a lot.
Which I liked hearing that update, and that's just made me feel even better about myself. But I feel at some stage with these Gordon point-to-point horses, it's all going to really, really click, and that will be a very frightening prospect.
Yeah, well, he spent enough money, and hopefully he'll be hoping that it happens as soon as possible, and Qualameter might be a superstar. But there's so many that you could go down that list with, but I just think it's very obvious, but she is the one, the big standout that we must be looking forward to this season. Rob P asks, any news on Nikki Henderson south of the border? Won on debut by 3 lengths. The form isn't great, but I think he could be well above average. He was literally learning on the job. Now, I got in touch with the folks over at Nikki Henderson's, and they said that he is one of Nikki's nicer novices. Remains to be seen what his ceiling could be, but the yard are excited about him. He's grown and strengthened and is a proper horse now. He was given lots of time after his bumper. There was no injuries. He was going to run again, but he's a big boy, and the quick ground was a no-no. Back in full training and cantering, going very well. They're excited about him, so hopefully he could be a nice one for next season for Nikki Henderson, because he does need a star novice. Robbie Lowry asks, what's your thoughts on bumpers? Are they a waste of a year for some horses, or the best introduction into rules racing?
Yeah, it's a very interesting debate that I know quite a lot of people have come up with, saying that bumpers are a complete waste of time.
Is there anything that you would change to the bumper campaign?
I would potentially cap the amount of bumpers a horse can run in, personally speaking. I've
Rough.
4?
Yeah.
I would say it gives them an opportunity. They could be beat first time round, they could win one, and they could maybe have the opportunity to run in 2 graded bumpers if they were very good. But like, what I can't get behind is some of these horses staying in bumpers seemingly indefinitely. Like, I remember Gordon Elliott had a mare, Big Bad and Beautiful, a few years ago that seemed to be running in a bumper for 4 years on the trot, even though she was winning half of them. So I don't want to get behind that sort of logic. I think they need to be kind of the max you should be staying is really 1 season. The one thing I would say about maybe people that would say, oh, well, you can only run in bumpers for 1 season, say, is a horse I say like is Tiger Bay Queen for Peter Fahey, runs in a bumper in Gorn in January 2022, picks up an injury and isn't seen again until April 2023. And it's right at the back end of the season. It would have been a complete waste to waste her novice tag running in a maiden hurdle. She's fit to run, so therefore she should be running in a bumper. I think they're a perfect introduction for young horses. I think they learn a lot, and people will grouch about them. I actually quite like them as a betting heat.
Oh, interesting. That probably would be an unpopular opinion.
I think they're an interesting bet, especially over here. Obviously, over in Ireland, you just back Willie's horse and tends to go in. But yeah, over here, I think an awful lot of the times on a standard card, the bumper is one of the better betting heats of the day.
I agree. I would maybe make it 3 rather than 4,
yeah,
and they get one. Say they get beaten a bumper, they win a bumper, then they get 1 shot at the graded bumper.
Yep.
That would be my take on things.
But would you have any issue with how Bowens Park was campaigned last year? You know, he wins 2 bumpers and he runs in a listed bumper and a grade 2 bumper, and he'll never even hear the word bumper in his life ever again.
No. But if you had, for instance, if you could only go to 1 listed or graded bumper, then you had to be really selective with where you go, and you know that they're trying. Not that they're not going to be trying, but you know that is going to be the end of season target, and you could be very excited about that. When do you play your card?
On the flip side of that is Henry Daly not thinking, just in using that horse as an example, that horse still looked green even in the Aintree bumper, and that's his 4th run. If you'd limited him to 3 runs, he's still an extremely babyish horse going over hurdles this year.
That would just be my ruling.
I think there's a lot of people, and I suspect an awful lot of people who are watching this will have completely different ideas. Some people will think you should just put bumpers straight in that bin over there.
Yeah, and look, I think a lot of trainers, especially the big trainers like Gordon, Willie, Paul Nicholls and Nikki Henderson, that will have lots of bumper runners, Ollie Murphy, Dan Skelton, I think they love the bumper sphere because you can really give a horse a good education, and I can guarantee you can ask any of those, they would not get rid of them at all. Declan O'Brien asks, can you ask Willie Mullins about Redemption Day? Now, I couldn't ask him, but I did ask his owner. He said he's in good form, back in the main yard. They're very happy with him. Willie's very happy with him, and he's a 2-miler. So think Supreme.
What are your thoughts on Redemption Day?
I would simply have to see him. I think he's 33-1 for the Supreme now. I wouldn't be touching that just yet. But then again, if he comes out and wins a maiden hurdle, he's not going to be 33-1.
I'd agree with that.
I would want to see where he is. Obviously, Facile Vega kind of did the form well last year. Yeah. But no, Redemption Day. What about you?
Yeah, I wouldn't be massively sold on. I think it would be great for Tim O'Driscoll, his owner, to have a very good horse. He's had some very good horses with Gordon in the last few years, like the Liberty Dance, Harmonia Maker, flew the flag very well in mares races. It would be great if the horse was as good as he promised to be. He certainly wouldn't be one that would be just high on my list at this moment in time.
Martin Woodhull asks, do each of you have a horse to nominate for a comeback to follow this season? So a horse that maybe didn't run last year that you're excited about still?
I am still excited about a horse that, again, people are going to crab me because it's one of my favourite trainers I'm about to mention.
Okay.
A horse called Supreme Jet. Who trains him?
Oliver McKiernan.
Very good from you. He hacked up in a maiden hurdle 2 years ago. He actually won a conditions hurdle summer last year. Hasn't been seen since, I think it was August time, 2022. He seems to be all good, though. I got in touch, and he's going novice chasing this year. So fingers crossed, Supreme Jet can win people a bit of money. I think, especially going right-handed, he's a very decent horse. He'd probably be a 140 horse.
Looking forward to seeing him back. One horse that's probably everyone knows is my Drogo. He missed last year. He's back in training. Dan and Harry are both very, very happy with him, and all being well, he will return simply when the rain comes. Not like it's staying away, but they won't rush him back. They're not going to run him on ground that he's not going to love, and they're going to wait for the rain to come. And I would imagine this kind of goes side and side with the question that we got from Lee Taylor. He says, any chance you can find out about my Drogo and his chances / realistic targets for the coming season? I've not spoken to them about targets or anything, but I would imagine the likes of a Paddy Power Gold Cup at the November meeting at Cheltenham, Beck Victor Gold Cup, whatever it's called now, would be on the radar. I would imagine, I'm not sure if he'd qualify for an intermediate chase, possibly.
He might be in he could do a graduation chase, I suspect.
Yeah, something like that. The Colin Parker at Carlisle would come into the mind, that race at Newton Abbot as well, the
wood race on Chepstow weekend.
something like that. Or even you could try him. They thought he was a Grade 1 horse. They thought he was a Grade 1 3-miler. Whether they're going to pitch him in to a Grade 1 3-mile race first up, I doubt that highly. But I think they'll be looking at opportunities, and his handicap mark is not ridiculously high, so he might look at one of those handicaps at the Cheltenham November meeting. Would be very interesting.
I think he's probably the one horse in Dan Skelton's yard that I love more than you.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely adored.
I would say that's very true. AJ asks, if Constitution Hill goes chasing, will Marie Nationale stay hurdling?
Yes.
You're that confident?
I'd be 99% sure.
Wow, bullish. Love that. Now, Rob has asked about 6 horses that he's still got in the tracker from previous horses to follow videos, and this is going to be a slight horror show.
Yeah, slightly saddening update, this.
But do want to let you know, so Petit Bon Mon, Henry de Bromhead, no longer with us, unfortunately. Barry the Butcher, we spoke about him earlier, on his holidays, going back into training with Henry. Coppolus, unfortunately, isn't with us anymore. String to Your Bow, Christian Williams sent me a video of him on screen now. He's alive and well, and we're looking forward to seeing him this season. Obviously, a very impressive winner up in Scotland. He had last year off, not 100% sure why, but I think he's going to go chasing. And it wouldn't surprise me if he was the next in the kitties like Captain Ord, go and become a 140, 145 handicap chaser. Top Dog, no longer with us, unfortunately. And Jenny Wyse, a very expensive horse purchased by Paul Nicholls in training. It was Chris Giles, I think, had her.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to see her on a track again. She had an injury. She was retired, and she's now in foal to walk in the park. So, shame we didn't get to see her, but excited to see her young ones. I know when we went up there that Paul was particularly excited about her.
Yeah, I was too. The only problem when we saw Jenny was I was really taken by her. I put her up as a horse to follow last year. She was enormous.
She was big.
She was a big, big mare. You wouldn't have thought she was a mare, really.
Racing is the only...
you could get away with
that.
But it doesn't... to a certain extent, it doesn't surprise me that they maybe struggle to get her on track. And we'll look forward to maybe seeing a few young Jenny Wyses in our time.
Young Jenny Wyses, that'll come a few years down the line, but something to be excited about. Dan Overall, our good friend Dan Overall, has asked us a question. Josh gave us School Days Over, who's rated 112, but do either of you have a horse rated below 110 that you're keen on? Those class 4 and 5 handicaps need love too.
He does have perverse pleasure for these low grade handicaps.
He does. I kind of like it though. Someone needs to get excited.
Somebody needs to, yeah.
I've gone for 3. All trained by Christian Williams, all owned by the same owner, Gwent Holdings Limited. They spent almost £1 million last year on young store horses, and I was really keen and excited to see them and to see what they would do at Christian Williams, because I think he's massively outperformed his stock and what he's been given at Christian Williams. He's bought horses for 2, 3, 4,000, the likes of Kitty's Light, and has turned them into horses that churn out prize money, get offers, I'd imagine very big offers from big owners to buy them, and they're just consistently there, massively overachieving with what he's been given. This time he was given expensive horses, and I think it's fair to say that some of them disappointed last year. The one thing I would say is we have to understand Christian Williams brings these horses along very slowly. They always improve and they always go through the handicap system before targeting those good races. All three of these horses are below 110. Montgomery rated 106, Camelus rated 97, and Desert Fortune rated 90. If combined, they weren't £40 better than those ratings now come the end of the season, I'd be pretty surprised.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'd be very excited to see what they could do this season.
No, I think that's a very good angle to go down. And I think certainly with Christian's horses, when they're in those novice hurdles, you wouldn't be surprised if all three of them were in staying chases this year. I suspect and improve a leg for it. I have two. One I was quite keen on going into last season. We didn't see him up until March time. A Tony Martin horse called Patsy's Honour. He's rated 105. I'd be very, very surprised if he wasn't to win handicap hurdles. And another horse trained by Paul Nolan in JP's silks, a horse called Park of Kings, is rated 95. Now he came third in a Fairy House bumper, beaten 2.5 lengths by Dr. Bravo, Attaboy Charlie in second, and Nick Rocket was in fourth. And Park of Kings is off 95, and in those silks, I will say no more.
Say no more. Another question is Maximilian, long distance hurdle or novice chasing, as one of his owners. Have you spoken to Donald and you've gone, look, this is the plan?
Yeah, I called him up last week and called up Brian as well. Just said, look, what's the story? Look, we were given the fair impression that he was going to be staying over hurdles this season. I think they're going to target those staying hurdles. There's not a great deal of depth in the division. I think, personally speaking, you know, in the best possible world, you'd be targeting back from the Stayers hurdle. I honestly don't know whether he's good enough to do that or not. I would be very shocked, as long as the horse is well, if his first port of call wasn't the West Yorkshire hurdle.
Leonardo asks, where does Strong Leader fit into the festival picture, chaps? Now, this is an interesting one. This really is an interesting one. I think many people, after his second to In the Pocket at Aintree, thought Up in Trip and Fences is going to bring the best out of Strong Leader. He's not going chasing this year. I spoke to Wally today, and he said that the plan at the moment and the plan for this season is to definitely start over hurdles, and I would imagine chasing will just be plan B. Plan A is to stay over hurdles. What does that mean for Trip? Will he stay at 2 miles? Would he start in something like the Greatwood? Would he maybe go to the Ascot Grade 2 at the start of the season? Would you maybe go for the Conditions hurdle but probably bump into Brew and Upper Storm at Aintree at the start of the season? I'm not 100% sure. Is he a stayers hurdle horse? I doubt it. I would suspect we might see him start off in a Greatwood hurdle and then maybe go to an international, a rail keel, maybe down that route, follow in Brew and Upper Storm's footsteps, and they might have to bump into each other. I'm not too sure, but it will be interesting. What did you think of him staying over hurdles?
Strange. I thought he was a fair certainty to go over fences myself, but like if we'd recorded this video 24 hours ago, I'd have told you that the turners was where like if I was to picture him turning up at the festival, I couldn't tell you he's going to turn up to the festival, to be honest, though, because he'd surely be lapped in a champion hurdle, and I don't think he'd stay in a stayers hurdle. You'd have to be,
and he's going to be probably too high in a handicap for a Coral Cup or a Martin Pipe. Unless he was very much had that one day in mind and managed to creep into the Martin Pipe off 145 or below.
Yeah, or maybe
it's 143 now.
Yeah, or maybe running a strongly run county hurdle or something like that. I'd have thought surely they're looking back from the Aintree hurdle. He ran so well at Aintree last year. I'm sure they were delighted with that performance. If he'd gotten going maybe even a half furlong before, he might have won the race. You'd have to think that's more the long-term target, because he looks to me like an intermediate distance horse. I
agree. I was pretty surprised by that news from Ollie. Another question here from Haxie. Bravemansgame for the Charlie Hall of the Betfair Chase. Where's he going to start out? I think if you want to win a King George and be competitive in a Gold Cup, you would go Charlie Hall and do what he did last year, because it's going to be a weaker race. I have a feeling the competitor in Paul Nicholls is going to eye up a Grade 1. Think about the possible runners in that Grade 1 and go, it's a week after it. Week or two.
Yeah. Running against 110% protectorate. He's going to be gunned to his life.
I know. But It's Paul Nicholls.
It is Paul Nicholls, and he won't want Dan Skelton to get a free Grade 1.
It'll be more prize
really
money.
won't.
The thing is, I think we were flicking through the other day and trying to find horses that might be able to go there. I think we thought Hitman is a chance.
Yeah.
Pick Dory's a chance.
Complete unknown.
Gelino Bello, complete unknown. But you wouldn't.
No,
they're more horses that might be able to nick a really weak Charlie Hall, not horses that could then fit into a Betfair Chase.
I think it probably depends how much of a premium Paul Nicholls puts on the King George. The only thing that would put me off the idea of him going to the Betfair Chase is he did that 1 year with Clan des Obeaux, and Clan des Obeaux ran a really good race to come second to Bristol de Mai. It was the only year he then didn't win the King George.
Yeah.
He was really flat in that race, and he said he'd never do that again. So I think it depends just how much. Like, does he hold the King George in as much of a light as you hold it?
I think he does.
Well, then I think it's an odds-on shot he goes to the Charlie Hall.
You know what my mission is? This time next week, I'm going to tell you exactly where he's going to go. That's my mission.
Okay.
Final question is thoughts on Facile Vega and where you think he'll end up at Cheltenham. Now, he is going to go chasing. He is fit, well, back at Willys, and chasing is very much the plan. I don't think that's a surprise to many people. I think they think that chasing was always going to be his bag. He was going to be a better chaser, and they're excited about him, obviously. Where's he going to end up at Cheltenham?
I think he'll end up in the Oracle. I don't buy. I just think he's been beaten at 2 miles. Like, obviously, take out the Leopardstown run, which was an absolute shocker, and he clearly wasn't right. But surely at Cheltenham, he's just been beaten by a better horse.
Do you think?
I don't look at Facile Vega and go, he's begging for a step up in drip.
Is he not going to be one where, if Constitution Hill goes chasing, they're just going to dodge him?
Yeah, perhaps, but I can't look at Facile Vega. I can't look at the way he runs. He runs with the choke out all the time. I don't go, geez, 2.5 miles would be 100% his bag.
I don't look at him and go, good jumper either over a fence. Can't jump
I don't know with Facile Vega. He's obviously a horse with a huge reputation, great connections that have served the game very well. It's great storyline and stuff like that. It's just hype that doesn't do it for me. And there are loads of people out there that are going to want to have this horse beat Marine this year. And I actually can't wait for it to happen. I'm like Kevin Keegan. I can't wait for Marine to beat him again.
I don't know. Don't know about him. I really don't.
I just think he's a Grade 1 horse, clearly. The way he did it at Punchestown, the way he did it earlier in the season. I'm not doubting that for a second. I just feel if he comes up against a real top-notcher in any type of race, he'll come up short. He slightly reminds me of John Bon.
Okay, I don't trust him.
No.
I didn't. After Leopardstown, I needed him to go and blitz the Supreme, and he got beat. And I understand that Marine National is a very, very good horse. But I was disappointed by Facile Vega's effort that day. I know he was second, but I just thought that
I think turning in, you'd have thought he was going to win.
And the way that Willie holds him, he holds him in this, I almost feel like he holds him in the Duvan Vautour realm.
Which is a sad
state. He's just not that. The way he's shown nothing like that for me since his bumper campaign, and it didn't show that any other hurdles. Didn't give them any respect, so he's going to have to give fences more respect. Any final points that you would like to mention in the Q&A video? I've got one.
What's your one? Might give me an epiphany.
So my one is just a horse for you to keep an eye on. £8,000 store purchase from the May Tats store sale in 2022. A grey filly by Kingston Hill. Been named, this isn't, it's not on any system, but it's been named Tomavian Tomavian.
Yeah, that's a good effort.
They like her a lot. Gordon, Elliott.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's very good. I'll look to you for your SAR statistics on Kingston Hill on our LTR Ultra video.
Bloodstock's not my bag. Any epiphany moment?
No, absolutely none, I'm afraid. I'll come up with plenty during the year, but not at this stage.
Well,
Maximilian wins the stairs. That's all.
I think you've that's just called.
Yeah, I think the heat in this room. We're going to have to sort this out, Josh. I'm sweating like nobody's business.
You do have a scarf on.
Well, that is true, but at the same stage, if I've taken it off midway through the video, then it looks strange. And I've lived and died with Villa winning 5-0.
Well, we do hope you enjoyed seeing Andrew in his Villa scarf. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and get your comments down below. Any questions you want answering, we'll try our best.